Welcome back to the podcast. Today we've got the legendary, the one and only David Soule, who literally brings a bigger, bolder vision for the podcast and for the online social media world. He's exploded social media platforms throughout this network, and he's going to tell you some secrets to how to blow up your social media platform. Excited about having David on the show. David, welcome.
Thank you so much, Anthony. I am super excited to be here. Future Factory podcast is one of the best. So I am excited to dive in, and your charisma and the way you speak is just very, very contagious, and I love it.
Well, yeah, I like what. Hey, look, when I got, Joe and the guys said to me, "Hey, look, you've got to see what this guy's doing. He's blowing up social media. You've blown up some platforms. You have really shown, a way of breaking through some places where, a lot of us get stuck in our mental crap, and you've made it really simple. And I think that we want to start with this basic fundamentals and help others really see that it's not this big, bold, massive thing you have to do to get social media going. It's just a couple easy secrets, and let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so let me get into a bit of the backstory about how I overcame mine and what problems I was facing. So my main problem was in high school. So I've been doing social media about probably 7 years now. And I literally just got my first break this year. So the persistence and consistency was definitely there. It was just when. And so back in high school, I started social media. I was just trying to be on the trends and trying to be like trying to get somewhere with it. And it wasn't really working. The kids started making fun of me at school, and people just were like, they weren't about it. It was kind of new, and people didn't really think it was all this or what it was going to be, especially TikTok. This one was really new. So I really was worried about what they would think. I wouldn't post as much as I should. I wouldn't post what I didn't think I should. I was so anxious, especially because that social circle was all I knew my whole life. And I really didn't get out of that boundary. So then towards like 11th grade, I started really putting myself first. And I kind of saw my first social media success, which I gained like 2,000 followers. It was nothing. It felt like, or it was everything at the time, but now it feels like nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, wow, this actually works. And I started doing the TikTok lives, and I would just sit there for like 6 hours a night after my serving shift. And 1 month I made $2,000 off TikTok live. And this was when I knew like, wow, social media is powerful. Like people are donating me gifts, and I just got to sit here. So I was like, I got to do more and more and more. And then so I I was still in this place like, oh, what if they see my TikTok? What if like my friends see it? What if they make fun of me? But I was also seeing results on the other side, like what if this takes off? What if this does well? So it was very, very cross-handed. And so then I continued to take the next step. I went to Thailand, didn't post one video. The last day in Thailand, I posted a video and it went viral. I was like, what the heck? I was literally on the flight home. My friend's like, you got to look at your video because I just bought Wi Fi, and I had like 10 texts from my friend. And I was like, what the heck is going on? So that video had like 800,000 views, and I'm on the flight home from Thailand. I'm like, I didn't post one video from this trip. Wow.
Well, I when I work on, look, I don't care if you're 15 or 58.
Mm-hmm.
When you
Mm-hmm.
stand in front of a mic and you start to do work, the brain kicks in. I got this voice in my head. I call him Fred, and Fred's kind
Yeah.
of a jackass. And Fred,
Mm-hmm.
talks me out of stuff. Oh, my friends, what about how I look? And oh, you sound funny. You mumble. Who do you think you are? I mean, they're all going to make fun of you. It's
Mm-hmm.
this crazy voice that, and I've done hundreds and hundreds of podcasts that comes
Yeah.
up even after all these years. I've been doing it, and it's an insane. I don't know if it's some sort of prehistoric way of keeping us part of the herd and making sure that we're part of. I don't know where that brain comes from or where that thing comes from. It's the ego
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. I don't know. Freud needs to tell me or whatever wherever that stems from. But it's a jackass voice that just stops us, and I think that's I think that's something to really talk about because how did you break through that voice, right? How do you break through and get that first Thailand video up? Where was that brave, bold behavior that said, all right, I'm going to post today?
It was really like a last of the moment thing. I was like saying bye to one of my friends there. So I went to see them before I went home because I made a connection there that really grew into something. Um, and I made a really good friendship. So I was like going to say bye, and then they were like, "You should post a video before you go." So I was like, "Okay, why not?" And I posted the video, and it was just, it was like, I don't know, it's like some of those things you just feel like they happen for a reason, but the only reason they happen for that reason is because you put yourself in the previous situations, right?
That's right. That's right. I
So
mean, yeah. It,
it just, there was like no secret with it because it was just, I pushed myself to these boundaries, and I've been pushing so hard for the weeks previous, and I didn't have a break anywhere because like I was also just bought a laptop in Indonesia the week before because I came back to Thailand to say bye to my friends, see my friends before I go. The laptop, I was just like, how to make money online, how to make money online. My whole YouTube was that. And it really, I don't know, it's just, it's one of those things where if you put yourself in situations where you don't know how you're going to perform, then the most unimaginable things can happen, right? It leaves open for all those results.
I think there's where you're that's what I would if I had a want for anybody who's listening right now, and you're sitting there thinking,
Mhm.
but those guys can do it. Oh, that guy Anthony, he's it's easy. Look, David or
Mhm.
myself or any other podcaster, and I promise you, I don't care how good they sound, all have a Fred in their head. There's some voice
Mhm.
that goes in there, and all you have to do know is this. So what? That voice says no, do it anyways. If the voice tries to talk you out of it, great. So what? Do it anyways.
Mhm.
Your parents say don't do it, great. So what? Do it anyways. Your friends say don't do it, so what? Do it anyways. Right? If there's one thing if I could tattoo on my forehead backwards, it would be so what? Do it anyways. Right? It's just like that,
Yeah.
getting out there and just starting and stepping through that. The other side of the gift of that is no one. I don't think that anybody ever looks back at life. At least I haven't so far. At the things that I tried and didn't do well at, I've been more bummed about the things I never tried. I should have tried. Right. I mean, there are places where I certainly have tried something that didn't work, or, I started a business and something failed, or, just I didn't, it wasn't the right timing, or it just wasn't the right place. Okay, great. Right. At least I tried. And it feels a lot better than the places where I was just too afraid, that fear kicked in. That voice, that's the one that actually stings a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, I really love that too, Anthony, that you say that because like my whole thing was like my whole thing growing up from like 16 to where I am now was like common decisions create common lives, right? So I would always think like if I could create uncommon decisions, then it would create an uncommon life. So that's why I dropped out. My parents were furious. My parents, the only thing they wanted me to do was finish college and go to college. I was like, no, I want to put this pressure on my back. I want to have no other option. If I go homeless, it's my fault. If I get rich, it's my fault, right? So that was my main thing leading up to that, and it it really pushed you or me to my limits, and those limits have only got bigger. So it's like it's not over yet either. Like it's just the
That's right.
beginning. It's just the
Yeah.
beginning. You're still going to have doubters. Even at this point, my friends still can't see me for who I am today. They can only see me how they met me, right?
Yeah.
And that's
I,
one of the things I'm struggling with now.
I think that's normal. There's always those folks in our life. We call them the Mexican crabs, right? The
Mhm.
Mexican crabs that, you're crab, you're trying to crawl your way out of a bucket. And there's always those crabs that want to pull you back in down to where
Yeah.
they're at. And
Mhm.
look, I've got plenty of those friends. And by the way, some of those, they gotta be cut off, right? You'll see them
Yeah.
again, right? You'll see them later on in the future. And,
Mhm.
look, they have a right to do whatever they want in their life, but to live my life by their doubt and fear, great. I look back, even my mother was a great example of that fear. Her
Mhm.
biggest wish for me when I was a kid was that she wanted me to become a butcher. She's like,
Wow.
you're not really a college guy. I really
Wow.
wasn't much of a college kid. I wasn't a college kid at all. And she's like,
Mhm.
look, she got me a job in a meat market as a kid. She's like, look, if you became a butcher, you'll always have food for your family. I'm like, so think about that today. If I were her biggest fear was I'd go hungry. And look, it makes sense for a woman who came from a depression era family, right? And that realizing I probably wasn't the best student. I never was a great student, and so she wanted to protect me. And her fear was like, all right, if I get my son to be a butcher, she got me a job in this butcher shop, and I worked for
Wow.
this old Italian guy that cussed all day, and maybe there was some gift in that, but there I could be a butcher today, and I would all the things I would have lost out on had that been the biggest vision of myself, I could go for it. And I'm not mad at her. Like, I can't be mad at her for that's what she could see. Right. I think sometimes we get all mad at our parents didn't, my mom should have, like they could have. Look, I'm a grown ass adult today. Today I have the choice to go take those steps boldly and do what I want to do. And there was some those early days of being an entrepreneur. Look, you're exactly right. When you're young, freaking do it. Dude, someone asked me the other day, they said, they were talking about this job they had. And I go, great, keep it for 3 months and take another job, and keep that for 3 months and take another job. Just each
Mhm.
job you do, rock the hell out of it. Just go in there, learn it completely. When you're young, go for it. There's nothing. You have nothing to lose. You said it best. I mean, I mean that inspires me more than anything. Sometimes I feel like as you get older, where I'm at, guys my age start playing defense, and we
Mhm.
lose. You get to be so bold when you're young that it's a gift, like being bold.
I mean that's the goal. I've really just taken my life into these segments of like where I was, because it all started when I broke up with my first girlfriend. This is going to sound so ridiculous, but I was 16 years old. I was working at a restaurant, and my brother had a book. My brother's a bit older than me. I was like, I need to read something or do something because of this breakup. I'm heartbroken. My first love just left me. So I went and bought this, or well, I didn't buy. I went to his room and stole his book, and it was Think and Grow Rich.
Nice.
And I read the whole book, and it just, after that part of my life, my whole paradigm shift. And since then, my paradigm has been shifted from that book about thinking bigger, doing more, right? Just always do more. And yeah,
Well, it's one little paradigm shift, and
yeah.
that's what I'm hoping
Mhm.
you inspire. Why I think you being on the podcast today is really the gift is that if we could all see that it doesn't take,
Mhm.
you're not going to figure out, you're not trying to boil the whole ocean at one time, right? If I could
Mhm.
just start with one cup
Yeah.
and do one thing, read a book. Look,
Mhm.
just the act of reading a book in itself says I'm trying, right? I mean,
Mhm.
a lot of times I tell people keep lowering the bar to do, "Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm not sure where to start. I don't know what to do." I get people who are, I'm not that kind of guy. I can't do that. You can do that. Great. Just keep lowering the bar to something that you can do. I don't care. Look, literally, if it's, I haven't been able to get off my couch in 3 weeks. Great. How about just walk around the block? If just,
Yeah.
if lowering the bar down to walking around the block is your first, win moment, cool. Get one W, however
Mhm.
low it's got to go, and then tomorrow try to do a 2 laps around the block, right? And
Mhm.
if you get that, maybe not. Maybe you can only do one again. Great, but the goal is to keep lowering the bar to one W for the day,
Mhm.
and just in that act, that self voice, that voice, that I call it one esteemable act. We build self-esteem by doing esteemable acts, right?
Mhm.
Things that are good for us, working out, eating well,
Yeah.
helping others, that kind of stuff. If I can just lower it to do that kind of stuff, now I can watch David and do what he does in social media.
Mhm.
Then I can start getting inspired. All right, hey, look, I got to create some little story, right? What might be the story that I create that was like David's? Maybe it's, something with my family, or something with my new car, or something I'm saving money up for. Look, there's a billion ideas out there. Just now I need to create one.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. And that's all it is. It's one step a day. Everyone likes to say like, "Oh, I don't have the money for this, or I can't do it, or I can't start, I can't afford it." And it's about actionable steps towards the right direction. And that's what, like, you're not going to grow 100,000 followers in a night unless you get a like super viral video or do something crazy, but you're not going to just see instant results. But with shorter attention spans, that just means we want shorter results, like instant results, especially in today's generation. We're very instant gratification is at an all-time high. Like kids love instant gratification, especially in today's generation. And social media makes it seem like everyone needs like this super fast car or the Cybertruck. Like it makes it seem like these things are all needed to kids when they're 18, 19, 20. But you don't need to be a millionaire at 18 years old. But that's what social media is portraying, where this 18-year-old's getting out of his Bentley Bottega and he's got like six other ones too, and it makes these kids think like my life sucks. Why did my parents put me in this position? Why did And that's another driver, because social media, it's made me want to be a better person. It's made me want to be a richer person. It's made me want to be more successful, right? Help more people. It's a cycle. It's a cycle right now. We're in a crazy cycle, and we're going to see a lot more results in the future as well.
Well, I think if you start with one good act, right? People don't think that the Cybertruck, the money, all the rich and famous. I mean, the real money, not the guys that are perpetrating the fraud, right? There's plenty of
Mm-hmm.
jackasses out there that are perpetrating the fraud. Look, I can rent a car, or I can walk
Mm-hmm.
up to someone's fake car and pretend like it's
Yeah,
mine. Look,
yeah,
there's plenty of those
yeah.
jackasses out there, but the guys who really
Mm-hmm.
earn every guy that I know, and
Mm-hmm.
I sit on, I sit shoulder to shoulder with a lot of guys who are pretty financially well. Most of them built it the same way. Other than the guys who got it from their family, which let's discount that for a minute. The guys who and gals who went out there and worked hard, and I often say that it's the 1,000 days of getting up at 5 a.m. and trudging the road to nothing fancy. There's no like today's the Cybertruck delivery day. Look, today I got a Cybertruck. It happens to be my Cybertruck delivery day. Different, but it's not that day.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the thousands and thousands of days I woke up to just
Mm-hmm.
having getting up, going to the gym, getting some meditation in,
Mm-hmm.
and having every morning. I have a 6:30 a.m. meeting every single business day. Right, I start with a 6:30 a.m. business, so I start my day off hot and I go right into it. And those days aren't fancy. There's no fanciness to them. Really, we're talking about block and tackle. Like who's going to send out the piece of mail? Who's going to have an email to that person? Hey, who needs help on our team? As a leader, it's not about what you're doing for me. It's what can I do for you? And
Mm-hmm.
there's thousands of those days in growing a business that I mean, you have to spend thousands of hours behind the scenes thinking up videos and working on your craft and looking at different options of how to make money online. I mean, how many hundreds of hours did you spend going through online videos to figure some stuff out that today is starting to pay off? It doesn't happen instantly, but when it does,
Yeah.
people will think you were lucky. Oh, David's lucky. He's one of those lucky guys, right?
Exactly.
It just came. They'll think that it happened in those couple of pop off very viral videos that happened. They'll think it's that. It'll never be that. It'll be the
Yeah.
5,000 or 10,000 days, of trudging that get you there.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree about that. Um, Even now, I'm still on the journey, and I like to tell myself now that I can actually be aware that I'm on the journey, because in my mind, I'm already successful. Whether, and then I don't know how that sounds to the audience, but don't take that the wrong way. But I see myself as a successful. I see myself in the future. I really believe in you create your own character, and your character can really be created. It can really come to life. And now that might sound crazy, but we are just creatures of habit, right? So if our habits are aligned with our visions, then you will slowly engulf that vision. But your
Well,
habits need to be in line with that vision of whatever vision that is for you, right?
right here, it's just like the guys who play victim to the vision. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
well, my mom did this, or my dad did this, or I come from a poor neighborhood. Look, they align themselves with that story. Like I can't do it because I'm not a morning person. Like I always love when people say I'm not. I'm like, wait, did someone crack you open to find out there's not a morning person, or is that some story I
Mm-hmm.
created where I'm not a morning person, or I can't work out? Great, great. I do. That's just some
Yeah.
bullshit coming out of your mouth. And as we go and break through that idea or
Mm-hmm.
story that we create, and go, yeah, I can be anything I want. I can be a morning person. I can be a guy who works out. I can, And look, I get it. I'm a guy who's struggled on and off with weight and eating and like every time I pounce myself to go, I can't believe you went backwards. And sometimes I feel like you shouldn't. I
Yeah.
should be in a place in life where it's going to be better. But look, that's life. Like the struggle is real,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
It's a natural up and down part of it. Don't beat yourself up on the downside. Just like you said, I think the vision of who you are, the vision of yourself in the next 10 years is kind of a nice place to to see yourself in your mind's eye as to where you're going to be in 10 years and be that guy.
Hmm. And yeah, it comes down to you can't have a destination without a plan to get there, right? And your plan would be your habits and the way you're going and your strategies. And I think right now a lot of people are like, where do I start? What do I start with? What should I post? When should I post? Is there a certain time? Should I add this little detail? Should I add this little detail? Should I do this? Do I need a video editor? I don't have a camera crew. My phone isn't a good, like, there's a million excuses about why you can't start today posting or start to change your life. And if you just never take the first step, you're just going to be complacent in that place forever. You're just going to stay there. You don't get a following without taking that first step. So the main message I'm just trying to convey here is, who cares what anyone else thinks? If you truly believe in yourself and you truly want to put yourself in a better situation, you need to take the actionable steps to get there. And
So give me some example. Give me an example of like let's put together a plan for let's see let's call it person A. Yeah, I'm stuck on the couch. I watch David's videos. I love what you're doing, David. I want to be you. Give me here, what should I do tomorrow? Look, I can't think for myself. You tell me what to do tomorrow, David.
he has no business or anything, right?
No business. Just
Okay.
tomorrow. I've been watching. I've been playing Fortnite for every day of the week for
Hmm.
the last 6 months. That's all I got. I'm a video player.
I mean, the first step to anyone who wants to change their life today, I would tell them, is new information. Get as much new information as possible, whether that's picking up a book, watching a podcast like ours, Future Factory, um, and just whatever way you can do to devour more information and change how you think a little. Because once you insert new information here, you may not feel like you retain it in your conscious mind, but it's always retained in the subconscious, even
So
if you don't
let's
know it
hold on to
today.
that for a second. So I want people to really hear you, Dave, because I
Uh-huh.
think this is key, right? Look,
Uh-huh.
where what I know today got me to this space now.
Yeah.
If I want
Yeah.
to go somewhere else, like David's talking about, I have to put something else in to get me to someplace else. If not, I'm going to keep coming back to this spot, right? Is that kind of the theory? Like
Mhm.
if I want to go someplace else in the world, I have to bring some new information, new data in to go somewhere different. If not,
Mhm.
I'm destined to keep reliving this Groundhog Day of an existence
Mhm.
without new data, without new information.
Yeah, and I love that you say that too, because on the opposite side of that, if you don't obtain new information, if you don't actually take that in and learn about it, you're just going to keep reliving cycles, right? Our life has so many cycles, and you'll see them in your own life, even when with your successes and with your downplays. You'll see this success keeps repeating in my life because I keep doing these three steps that get me this, right? And then you got, oh, I keep sitting on the couch, so I gain a pound every day because I'm doing this, this, and this, right? So it's, what steps do you want to take and where do you want to go, right? So the first step I would say is get new knowledge, because new knowledge, you're going to maybe listen to Dale Carnegie or someone who can offer you a different perspective about life, and actually listen to him. Don't just be like, oh, I listened to it and then throw it away. Like, listen to what he's saying, unpack it. How can this play out in your life? And quiz yourself. You got to reflect on yourself. And then the next step I would say is exercise. I think hard work starts in the gym, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
my
Yeah, yeah,
number one thing, is exercise, mental health, physical health, spiritual health. That's like my pillars,
that's
right?
right.
So if I can keep those pillars alive and those pillars flowing, then I know I'm going in the right direction in my business.
I mean, come on. The gym has been my look. It's something about moving my feet, something about
Mhm.
movement, something about that. I once heard that there's actually a gene that gets activated in your body. They called it, they were called, scientists called it the hope gene. It's actually a reaction caused by movement. Look, and it can literally be as simple as walking around the block. Now, the
Yeah.
more we get into it, the more movement we do, the more that gene gets released, the more hope that gets created. And
Hmm.
somewhere in that hope, there's something about that's great, right? And it's the antithesis of the other bad gene, which is the shame, right? The part when I
Yeah.
sit on the couch and I feel that shame almost feels like it's the blocker of creativity, right?
Hmm.
It's when I don't do something, like, oh, I wish, oh, another day I didn't do anything. I'm a piece of junk, right? I
Hmm.
did something. That voice, but
Yeah.
just one or two things in the gym, and the more we go at that, the more it activates that. And so, talk to me about your health, and how did you get into that, and what are some of the things you do for physical activity?
Yeah, so I played hockey for about 15 years growing up, and then I kind of put that aside senior year of high school because I chose not to go to college. So hockey was a staple in my life. So when I came out of hockey, I was doing 5 days of practice a week. It was ridiculous, but it's really helped me like keeping my gym schedule routine because now I feel like I crave something if I miss the gym. It's almost like an addiction. I crave it if I don't go, or I crave it if I go too late because I just want to get that dopamine rush and kind of it makes you feel better about yourself. It makes you feel like you can accomplish the day. So to keep up with my regimen, I'm really big on the calisthenics. Like working out with your body weight, pull ups, push ups. Those seem to give me the most strength, even though they don't make me look that big. I can do a lot with my body that most people can't do, even bodybuilders. So it's very cool of how strong it makes you and how much better you feel and confident you feel like doing a pull up and stuff like that. And that's stuff you don't need a gym membership. So let's say you can't afford a gym membership, you could go do a push up in your room or what does that look like, right? You can do that anywhere.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it doesn't take. It's not the gym that makes the difference. It's the
Yeah.
trying. It's the effort. It's the
Mhm.
movement.
It's the
You can make
habits.
a, yeah. The I don't have money for the gym is just the story we tell
Mhm.
ourselves that says
Yep.
I can't try 1,000. There's a billion things you can lift. A billion.
Mhm.
Or literally, you could walk around this planet and pick up anything, and do a sit up, a pull up, a squat.
Mhm.
I mean, look, what's stopping you, the part that I always laugh about, what the creative part of my brain that stops me from finding any kind of movement to activate it. It could be anything,
Yeah.
right? Just starting something. So right on. So all right, you got physical movement going. You got that going. What's next?
So the next step is, I mean, it's really up to the person what they want to do, but I would say the next step is build a strategy. Now your physical health's in check, your mental health, you're inserting new knowledge in your mind. So you're going to start new strategies are going to arise. All these things are going to start coming out of new information. And I do want to unpack that a little more because not only does new information benefit your life, I think it takes you on different journeys. So, like, if you're reading the right books, they'll start taking you to different places. And um, I'm really big on nothing happens for no reason. I'm really big on that. And everything happens. So, I just really think books changed my life altogether. I would give books the highest pedestal in my life, honestly, because they allowed me to switch that paradigm. It switched my paradigm. It literally changed my complete thinking. Like after I read that book, I was like, "Mom, I'm done with college. I know you're going to be upset, but I will run away if that's what it means. I can pursue this dream." And it it was just something I had to put myself against the wall. So after
Fair
that, I
enough.
just started taking those steps of like, now that I'm dreaming bigger, thinking bigger, how can I be doing bigger? So I would, right now, this is a good step I think you could take because I kind of just discovered this because I've been remote for the past year. But I've been going to the networking events where I met Joe and how I'm connected to you now. And they're just, I mean, now that I have all this information in my mind and I can actually give this information to other people and put it in their um, awareness, then it's put me in situations like these, right?
That's
So
awesome. That's awesome.
it's
Look, the reading the book, I never read a whole book until I was 48 years old. right?
Wow.
Imagine that. You know, in high school and college, or early college years, I did go to. I never graduated, but you know, all the books I told people I read, I never read the whole book. I
Mhm.
would read the Cliff
Yeah.
Notes. I would watch a movie,
Mhm.
and at 48, I read my first book. And since then, I will say to you, other than a few times I've relapsed on social media, right, where I've gotten myself into, and it's almost like a drug addiction at night,
Mhm.
where instead of reading, I'll scroll, death scroll. And there's been a couple times in the last, since, you know, let's see, 2000, was that 2016
Mhm.
is when I started really reading avidly. And there's been a couple of times where I've gone back to social media binging, and my reading went down. I
Mhm.
sleep better. There's something about getting, if I can get 10 pages of a book done a night, if I can get to 50, I feel like a king. If I get to 10, for some reason, it's, to me, it's like meditating, right?
Mhm.
It's almost like I get my brain trained on one thought at a time, right?
Mhm.
And it brings my mind into a focus that when I sleep, it's a lot calmer sleep. It's not
Yeah.
that kind of social media sleep where I wake up in the middle of the night and I have to scroll again, right? When I scroll before bed, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I'll be scrolling in the middle of the night. Like, what are you doing? You're like a crackhead. That's what it feels
Yeah,
like.
I
It's
know,
like the
it's
essence of a
it's
junkie.
ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. You just, "Oh, that one's cool, that one's cool, that one's cool," and then you just don't stop. And they're so good at picking what you love. They're so good at, like, feeding you that. But yeah, I think another step as well, now that you bring that up, is start posting on social media, whether you want to start a business or whether you don't even want to start a business. I mean, I just think having a personal brand is one of the most beneficial things you can do right now. Um, as we see, money's becoming less valuable, and now attention and all these other things are rising up to the same pillar of money, when originally money was the only um, pillar, right? Back like
That's right.
years ago. I'm not sure, but
That's right.
now attention is, you can't put a price on attention now, especially someone who's trending or something like that.
I mean, values value. People have got
Yeah.
to stop looking at value as dollar bills. It can be
Yeah.
Bitcoin. It can be attention. It can
Mhm.
be, having the ability to be seen, or help brands be seen, or help others be seen. Look, I've certainly found out that doing this podcast has been a gift for the work I
Mhm.
do, and all the other work, all the other companies I have. If it's in
Mhm.
the real estate world, look, people know me because I do this podcast.
Mhm.
People, I get deals because I've been doing this podcast. I get I get to be an influencer because of this podcast. This was
Mhm.
not something that you got before that. So look, start building that brand like you talked about. Start now,
Mhm.
one at a time, one follower at a time, one listener at a time, one post at a time. You will. Hey, by the way, you go back to, you will make your mind will mess you up until you stop.
Mhm.
It'll stop. No one cares. No one's
Yeah.
watching. I mean, remember those early days of posting? It's like watching grass grow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ridiculous. You'll get 100 views, you'll get 10 views, you'll get 30 views, and then all of a sudden you'll get 40K. And they all feel the same at the end of the day. That's the thing. Once you get like 40K 10 times, 40K is going to feel like two views if you're getting 100K usually, right? So it's what level you're at, and as your mind grows, so does your accomplishments and your drive. So a lot of people just think the end, they want to see the end goal, but the journey is really, really the best part. Like through the year, as I was blowing up, like I have all the followers now, but I'm just sitting here, and now I'm back in Michigan just hanging out now. Like when I was in Thailand and I was growing, I was getting brand deals, I was doing all these things, like they were getting me free scuba diving lessons. I'm in the Philippines, I'm getting flown out places. Like my life, I actually just got another brand deal from the King Makahon Tower in Bangkok. It's that big
Nice.
tower with that thing on top of it that
Yeah,
spins
yeah,
around.
yeah.
So they want me to go do a whole review of the tower, and some guy's going to take me on an adventure. So we got to see if I get accepted for that, or so they just asked me for my price and what I charge.
That's awesome.
And
I just got one from the Banyan Tree Hotel. They got a rooftop grill up there, and they said the same thing. Hey, come check this out. Do a
Mhm.
post on it. We'll take care of your room, and it wasn't a huge fee. It wasn't. Well, look, Those when you're in the game, they'll come. Some will be bigger
Mhm.
than other ones. Who
Mhm.
cares what they are?
Yeah.
Just get in the game,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
one will lead to 10, 10 will lead to 20. They're
Yeah.
all part of the they're all part of the whole fabric that you build. Some people, I was working on a deal today with a group of people that were doing that we're doing some projects with, and it's a new program. The first project this company offered us was this like really crappy project. They're like, we don't know you. We're going to give you some crappy little project, and our people were kind of like, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm like, listen, dudes, you guys are all you're crazy. Listen to me. You're at the table. If they give you the scraps at first, good. Take the scraps, eat them, be grateful you got a scrap, and take that, get to the table, get up there and try. Look, if it's
Mhm.
a crappy little deal that you got to put something together for, put all the effort you have into it, just like it's $1 billion deal. And then
Yeah.
you act like it on the little ones. When the bigger ones come,
Mhm.
you'll get them much faster. And
Yeah.
that's where sometimes social media, people don't see those countless hours of polishing up the turds that we get to begin our whole system, right? Sometimes you have to polish those turds to get to get something going, and when you do, like, all right, great, now you got something.
So I do want to ask a little about you, Anthony. I know you're usually on this podcast. I wanted to flip it on you a little and kind of understand a bit more about you and what you do.
Well, look, I love doing this podcast. For me, this podcast
Hmm.
has all been a gift. It's like reading books, right? For
Hmm.
me, I get to interview people, and for me, it's like reading their book, right? I get to
Hmm.
know most authors when I read their book, and I try to get to one book a week. If I can read a whole book a week, I feel pretty good about that. If sometimes it takes me 2 weeks nowadays to read a book, but if I can read a book, every week or two, um,
Hmm.
there's something I find out that most books have two or three really good bits of information, and when I get to do an interview with somebody, I get to bring in and get to see them live, and I get to
Yeah.
experience why they wrote the book, and for me, that's the real gift of podcasting, is that I get to see the big bright ideas, and I get to communicate with those people why they had those ideas, where they came from, what started it, and that's what really inspires me for this podcast. It gives me a chance to really shine bright lights on great people.
I love that. I love that. And I don't know, just right off the back, your energy was it's very inspiring and it was very just different. It's one of those energies that you don't meet every day, but when you do meet it, you're grateful you met it. And I just heard a lot about you working up to this, and uh, this is an amazing experience. I think the people of who are watching this are really going to engulf off the part of the first steps. I think I help bring us back to like we have to start somewhere because
That's
you're
right.
in a position now. You've achieved a lot. I mean, I'm not sure where you are exactly, but you're in a position now where you have all these things and you've done all these things. So, like, what's keeping you motivated? And because I think we're going to have a lot of younger viewers watching. So, I do want to ask for some advice from you as well.
Look, you have to keep reinventing yourself. I promise
Hmm.
you. Look, I have 9 companies. I've
Hmm.
made, I've broken the $100 million mark. I've broken,
Wow.
some I've worked in all 50 states. I've built the
Hmm.
biggest brands in the world. I love doing development work, and at the same time, I just came back from a vacation where I was out there going, all right, how do I want to reinvent what my next
Yeah.
10 years looks like, and start to look at how do I take this show on the road, right? How to do 3 months in. So I threw a big goal out there in this next 12 months to plan my first 3 month adventure, right? To where I'm
Wow.
going to live somewhere for 3 months, right? So
Oh,
in the
wow.
next 12 months, I will plan a 3 month adventure where I'm going to live somewhere at some other country for 3 whole months. And that's a big one, right? To start setting up my life and the businesses so I can do it remotely, right? And start to put together, one of my best friends that I was traveling, just got back from Croatia. We did
Mhm.
7 days on a boat through the islands. I got to go to, I was in London. I got to go do a Taylor Swift. It was kind of a rocking concert. I took my whole family to Taylor Swift in London. I got to see Kelsey get up on stage with Taylor. She was up there. That girl puts on a hell of a show. Although I think the dogs and cats around Wembley Stadium are not going to be able to have children. I think those little girls, when they screech, there's an octave that little girls can yell at. That is, I'm certain dogs and cats are not having any more children around there. They
Mhm.
are. There's a level which I've never heard at a concert. The place was packed, and just she puts
Yeah.
on a great show. I think that's the bigger, bolder thing for me is to continue to have these to challenge what I was sold, the bad bill of goods that corporate
Wow.
America or religious America
Yeah.
or even my parents gave me and said, look, you go to school, get a job, work there for 20 years, marry some woman that you're miserable with, and like I'm not willing to do any of that stuff. I today I challenged my wife and I to live a bold relationship where we challenge each other, and that's not easy, right? To continue to
Yeah.
reinvent the relationship and stand
Mhm.
boldly in the relationship, or or what we think when we can retire, and how long we have to get there. I don't have to wait till I'm too sick to move. Most people don't. They're like, well, I'm going to travel when I retire. I'm like, yeah, by then you're too old to go on travel. So, um, I think even at your age now, you inspire me, right, to be bold
Mhm.
and to continue to take those steps. At my age, sometimes, like I was saying before, I feel like I get on defense,
Mhm.
right? You start to protect what you have, so you don't want to take those bold moves anymore. And I get online with someone like you that goes, nah, come on, go post again, go do it again, go do it again. And
Mhm.
I think that's a great challenge for both of us. So, look, I think we can continue to be bold
Yeah.
and challenge each other, no matter where you are, how old you are, and look at the gift of that with other human beings. I think sometimes we discount each other, and instead of looking at, all right, how can I learn from this other human and take advantage of their thinking to apply to my life.
Yeah, I love that. That's exactly what I've done in the past year. I've just tried to find as many people who are older than me and put myself in with them. So like all my friends in Thailand, none of them are my age. Most of them are 30, 40. Most of the guys I surround myself with are way better than me. I always want to be the worst one in my group because I I think if I'm the worst, I can only improve, right? So if I can get around people who can allow me to get in, and if I can get in and become friends with them, then I can learn a lot from them. So putting myself in those positions, I've met e-commerce guys who they make $300,000 a month off paintbrushes. Like, where do you hear that anywhere? Like, how do you how do you pull that off? Like, just off online. So it's like when you start seeing and doing these things, your mind just expands. Everything starts expanding, and then you just feel like you'll just gain this confidence that you don't know where it comes from, but your intelligence and what you know now and the paradigms you've created will just be so reinforced by those people. Like when I'm around them, they're like, "You're amazing, man. You're inspiring me. You're gonna do great things." But then when I'm around people I've grown up with, they're like, "Oh, I mean, are you sure it's gonna work? Is it gonna go that far? Are you sure this can like, man, you should probably join college, right? Like stuff like that."
Sure, it's completely natural, right? There's
Yeah.
completely there. Those around us, they justify their existence, right?
Mhm.
Because all of a sudden, if you break out, then there's something wrong with them,
Yeah.
right? And when you're around those people who can see the higher you're
Mhm.
higher and hold the higher watch for you, right? Those
Mhm.
around you that can see your boldness, that can inspire you to take those
Mhm.
big bold steps. Bring more of those people around. And look, I always say, don't be mad at those who can't see it, right? Don't
Mhm.
be mad. I mean, look, of course they can't, right?
Mhm.
Of course if they could, no one's. I wish they could, but of course they can't. What they see is their safety, and if you break out of that safety, it hurts them. So it's a
Yeah.
complete natural place for them to be. We can't being mad at them does you no good. Shaking your fists at them, going, those bad people,
Mhm.
they're does me no good. Now just to have grace for them and go, hey, I'm gonna hopefully I can inspire you. Go be bold and live that inspired life. David, you certainly have inspired me. You are a bold, bright light. You bring a brightness to this planet. If
Thank you.
people want to get a hold of you, what is the best way for them to come get a hold of you to catch up with you?
You can check out my Instagram, which is just my name with the number two. You can DM me or you can shoot me an email. Probably Instagram is easier because
Okay.
my email's kind of long, but we can drop the email in the comments as well.
Yeah, we'll put all
Uh,
that down below. Make sure everybody gets that.
mhm.
How about on LinkedIn? How are you on LinkedIn?
David Soule. Everything's David Soule across all platforms. You can check my Facebook, Instagram, um, TikTok, and see. I got a lot of accounts on TikTok. If you check out my TikTok, you'll see how many accounts I've created. Some of them got 20 followers with 50 videos. Some of them got 20,000 followers with videos, and then one of them has 260,000. So there's you'll see how much I've put into it, and you'll see different versions of me. You'll see when I was an 18-year-old making cringy videos, and you'll see a lot of different versions of me. So,
I love it. And listen, the version I know of you is
mhm.
a bright light, a bold soul. You are reverent and you glow, man. You have something about you that's magical. You are a
I
gift to this
appreciate
planet.
that.
I'm proud to have you on the podcast. As you continue to break through new ideas and new content, I want you to please come back. I think you're one of those inspirations that I can't put out there enough that the world needs to see. And every time you have a breakthrough somewhere with your work, I would love you to come back on the podcast and continue to to really bring it out there. So you are a bright light, brother. I'm grateful to have you on, and thanks for being on today.
Thank you so much, Anthony. This was an amazing opportunity.
Hey, audience, if you guys could take a second, last week I noticed we had 4,000 downloads out of you, and we had 42% of you guys that made it to the end that weren't subscribed. And on YouTube, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. So you had thanks for watching, but do me a favor, if you could like and subscribe right now, it means the world to Joe and Connor and the team in the background. That get great guests like David on board. It really does help them see the value in our podcast. And if you could take a second and do that now, I'd be grateful. And as always, thanks for watching.